Middle childhood bullying, ages 5 to 11 years old. Bullying seems to be on the rise. Although it has always been around, it seems to have worsened in the past 10 years. So let's discuss some aspects of bullying. Finding statistics on bullying among children ages 5 to 10 years old is difficult. Most of the research has focused on children ages 12 to 18 years old. However, that doesn't mean that it isn't happening among younger children. For ages 6 to 9 years old, 35% of boys and 25% of girls reported being physically bullied, and 30% of boys and 35% of girls reported being emotionally bullied. 33% of U.S. elementary students reported being bullied often while at school. 20% of kindergartners reported being bullied often, and 90% of students in grades 4 through 8 report being bullied. So what is bullying? Well, let's define it. Zimbar and Bloom define bullying as long-standing acts of physical, verbal, or relational aggression that are directed at a particular peer. And what is bullying defines bullying as aggressive behavior that includes a use of power to harm another and is repeated or has the potential to be repeated. So the two things to remember in defining bullying is 1, it has an imbalance of power, and 2, it's repeated or has the potential to be repeated. What bullying is not. When it comes to children and their relationships, teasing can be a small part of relationship. So teasing is not bullying, and that's important to remember. Teasing is playful, good-natured. It's a back and forth between the kids. And most importantly, it stops when children express the dislike. Whereas bullying is one-sided and does not stop when a child expresses dislike of the treatment. There are 4 identified forms of bullying: physical, verbal, relational and social, and electronic or cyberbullying. With physical bullying, it can consist of hitting, shoving, tripping, stealing lunch money, or other items. Verbal bullying is name-calling or any other type of verbal intimidation. With relational and social bullying, it's the starting and spreading of rumors, and possibly the exclusion from activities. And lastly, with cyberbullying, it's any aggression shown through technology, such as the use of social media, email, texting, or anything that has to do with technology. There are many different reasons why children are singled out and bullied. According to the National Institutes for Health, those that are bullied have one or more of these risk factors. Children who are bullied could be those that are seen as different from the other children. This could be that they're overweight or underweight, could be that they're a different race or ethnicity, or maybe they just aren't wearing the clothes that are seen as trendy. Those that are viewed as weak, smaller than others, or maybe just lacking the strength to defend themselves are also at risk. Those having low self-esteem, those having few friends, or maybe they just aren't sociable at all, and those having mental or physical disabilities are children who are at risk of being bullied. Parents and guardians should know and talk to their children regularly to build strong bonds. Without those strong bonds, parents and guardians might miss the red flags indicating bullying. So some of the indicators of being bullied are the children are coming home with scrapes, cuts, and bruises that aren't explained. Maybe they're frequently reporting that they're sick, saying that they have headaches and stomach aches. They have a change in sleep habits. Maybe they're having problems falling asleep or having nightmares more often. There's a change in their eating habits. And this could be that they're coming home hungry, maybe because the bully stole their money and they didn't have money for lunch. There's a decline in academics and wanting to attend school. And there's a decrease in social activities and friends. Children are indeed affected by being bullied. And some of these outcomes of being bullied are academics, physical health, relationships with others, conduct problems, and overall mental health. So with the academics, this can be affected in a few ways. Children's grades and interests in attending school will decline. Maybe the children are having troubles adjusting to the rules or may fear just simply being at school. Aside from the obvious effects of physical bullying, physical health has been shown to decline with complaints of poor nutrition and a higher risk of headaches. Relationships will decline with children having a lower perception of self-worth, social competence, and an overall feeling of being less popular. And repeated exposure to bullying puts children at a higher risk of acting out, becoming aggressive with others, and having other conduct problems. As far as their overall mental health, depression, anxiety, and loneliness were linked to bullying. And bullying also has led to higher risk of self-injury. We can't just talk about the victims. We must also talk about children doing the bullying. First and foremost, any child can become a bully. Dr. Gail Gross discusses situations that she has observed as being common in children that become bullies. These home life situations are as follows. Like child, like parent. In this home life, the child is observing the behavior or is being disrespected at home, and this is leading the child to imitate the behavior outside of the home. The powerless child is when the child is again observing the behavior or is being abused and is now feeling scared or powerless to do anything. With the forgotten child, the parents are not giving the child the positive attention and love he or she needs, leaving the child to feel angry and resentful. The entitled child is because of the amount of power given to the child by the parents, that now the child feels they have the right to act the way they do. And lastly, the children who lack empathy. These are children who come from loving homes with attentive parents that have positive parenting styles, but just simply lack the ability to show empathy to others. And it has been found that these children also like to dominate. So what are some things that you can look for in children you think might become a bully or are bullies? These children are getting into fights with other children, increasingly becoming more aggressive, having extra money or new items that they can't account for, and having problems accepting responsibility for their own actions. So important things to remember are children may exhibit one or more of these indicators. And again, stronger bonds with children will also help picking up on the red flags. Like victims of bullying, bullies are also affected by their actions. Children who bully have a higher likelihood of substance abuse, a higher risk of dropping out of school, have a higher risk of being convicted of unlawful acts, and have a higher risk of becoming abusive in romantic relationships and own children later in life. So again, it's important to remember that children who bully are also affected by their actions. Many school districts are adding policies regarding bullying. Here's a direct quote from Las Cruces Public Schools Intimidation and Hostile or Offensive Conduct Policy. Quote, "It is the policy of the Board of Education to prohibit violence, threats, name-calling, bullying, cyberbullying, unlawful harassment, intimidation, assault, battery, extortion, robbery, vandalism, and other victim-based misconduct that creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for students, regardless of motive or reason. Victim-based misconduct by students or employees will not be tolerated." End quote. It is not enough to just add the policy. Administrators must implement and adhere to these policies as well. Prevention begins with adults. Parents, teachers, administrators, and all other adults in children's lives have to work together to make change. So what can you do? There are 4 key ways to help prevent and decrease bullying. 1, we must educate. And that is, adults need to give children information about bullying and help them understand bullying. 2, we must communicate. Talking with children is key. Checking in with the children aids in the connection between adults and children. It can help the child feel comfortable enough to express what is going on. 3. Encouragement. We must encourage our children to want to interact with others, and this interaction will teach them about social behavior. Encourage your children to do things that they are interested in, like sports and/or other after-school programs and clubs. This will help children make friends and gain a sense of belonging. And lastly, model positive behavior. There is research that indicates children learn from what they observe. So adults that model positive and acceptable behavior assist children in learning what to do and what not to do. Lastly, let's talk about what kids can do. Adults are not the only ones that can help with bullying. There are things that kids can do to help decrease or stop the bullying. So, if children are bullied, they can walk away, they can report to an adult in charge, and they can express their own feelings of being bullied to that bully. If they witness bullying, they can do something called PAT, and that's play or sit with the child being bullied, report the bullying to an adult, and tell that bully that his or her actions are wrong. Bullying has become a huge problem for children today. I hope you have learned some very important aspects of bullying and are now better able to help decrease and stop bullying. Thank you for listening to this presentation.